Sir,
The operation.
I'll give you a chance to answer, but I'll tell you why I don't think I'm taking out of context. This is in direct reference to the guns that were all involved in Fast and Furious, and then you have someone under your direction, not saying you direct them to do it, but someone who's under your authority, saying, let's use this stuff. Maybe it's going to help us. I don't know if it's going to help us at a hearing, but it's going to get our new policy through. And then I'm trying to respond to law-abiding citizens who believe in the Second Amendment, who say, you got the federal government who screws up sending thousands of weapons south. They're using that as an excuse why they should put more restrictions on us. So how do I respond to that in a way that is fair based on the facts when so far I've heard, I'm sorry, Mr. Congressman, I can't tell you because the Inspector General's looking at it.
Well, let me deal with both of those things. First, that the Inspector General has a responsibility that I've asked her to assume, and that is to do an independent investigation of that. That will take time. That does not, however, lessen the responsibility that I have as the head manager of the Justice Department to take steps where that is appropriate. And I have taken steps. I have made personnel decisions. I am prepared. Those were initial determinations that I've made, and I'm prepared to take other steps before the Inspector General reports back. I think that will be, her conclusions, her findings will be useful for me in trying to make ultimate determinations, but I don't need the Inspector General to make certain determinations that I will make. With regard to the question of this whole, that memo and the long gun rule, the ATF reached out to the field to obtain examples of cases or operations where that kind of a rule would have been helpful. Now, the operation known as Fast and Furious was one of 7 cases that were already underway that ATF later cited as an example to illustrate the potential benefit of collecting information about the multiple sales of certain types of rifles. So this was already underway when that...
I understand, but you would see how some people might reasonably come to the conclusion that sort of self-dealing. The department creates a situation in which weapons go south across the border in the hundreds, if not the thousands, and then uses evidence of the fact that that occurred to support their effort to try and extend the reach of the law. Okay. That's my question.
Congressman, but with all due respect, I mean, take a step back.
The gentleman from California is recognized for an additional 30 seconds so the Attorney General can answer the last question.
And I say this with all due respect. Take a step back and think about the implications of what you're saying, is that the Justice Department came up with a flawed program in order to justify a regulation. And given all that has flown, that has comes from...
Well, I'm talking about after the fact. After the fact. You screwed up, you ought to admit you screwed up, but you ought not to use your screw-up as a basis for trying to extend your authority. That's my point. I'm not trying to talk about a conspiracy. I'm talking about a responsible action after the fact. When you screw up, you ought to say you screw up. The people involved ought to say they screwed up, and then don't allow your screw-up to be the basis for trying to extend your legislative agenda. That's all I'm saying.
All I'm saying is that